This is episode 11 of Pucks, Putts, and Properties. As always, Mark Strand here with my co-host, Danny Taylor. Danny, we have an amazing interview, so we're going to jump right into it.
Yes.
We're going to do our talk after
Yes.
this interview, because this is must see, guys. Like this guest that we have on is so incredible, the story that he's got. So Danny, introduce our guest and let us know how you know this guest that's coming on, and give us a bit of the story that people could expect.
Yeah. Mike Laughlin, I've met him through mutual hockey friends, and I've known him for quite some time, almost 15 years now. One of the first circle of friends when I first moved here when I was 19. He goes deep into some major life accidents. In this interview, at times, obviously laughing hard, crying. I've got shivers, goosebumps all over me during this interview. Stick around, listen to it. He's got some great insight into his into some really heavy accidents, his recovery process, the ups and downs, and I think he's just got a really great, insightful information on how he's overcome adversity. And I think everybody would take a piece of Mike Laughlin and be better for it.
Yeah, just took us through a roller coaster of emotions in this interview, and I will let you know that some of the topics and things that he discusses are pretty deep, super meaningful, and how he's come out on the other side is just an inspiration. So you will go through a range of emotions in this interview. So just to let you know, but definitely have to see it. It's what he talks about is absolutely incredible, and you should feel inspired as he goes through everything that he's gone through, and where he is now today is just a super inspiration. So without further ado, we'll kick it over to the Michael Laughlin interview.
They say when you're at your worst moment, and you think you can't go any further. So I'm laying in the ditch dying, and I can just lay down and die, or I can keep going. And what they say is, at that point, when you think there's nothing left in you, you've only used 40% of your human potential. You've actually got 60% more left in the tank. It's the untapped 60%.
So we'd like to introduce our guest, Michael Laughlin. Michael just gave us an amazing intro there of the untapped 60, and really leading into his philosophy on life and where he's come from. Michael, just briefly give us an overview of where you are today, where you came from.
So grew up in Joyceville, just outside of Kingston, on a farm. So, doing chores and throwing hay, and I was a pretty fit young kid, and got into sports right away. And I was a super jock, right? I played all the sports, won all the rugby championships in high school, all the football championships, hockey at the highest level, AAA, always the captain of the team on every team. Played fastball, actually won a national championship in fastball. Mike Smith, the goalie Mike Smith, was on the team.
I was going to ask, if he was there. Were you guys together in hockey too?
He was a little bit younger than me, so we never really matched up until we got to the V's, and then he went to the Frontenacs from the V's. The Kingston Fire Rescue. But so just played sports my whole childhood growing up through, and loved it, right? And my dad was never like one to push me. He just said, whatever level you make it to, and is great. And if you don't want to do it, that's great too. And so I never was pushed that way. I was just did what I wanted to do. And it was, that was great too, because I hear a lot of stories of kids that get pushed, that got turned off the sport. And no, I was always the big jock. And so, and then right after high school, so there was a time, Danny, when I was playing hockey, and I played with guys like McClement and Brian Allen and guys like that were exceptional hockey players. And I knew that I wasn't going to make the NHL. Now, that was always the dream growing up, right? To make the NHL. And then when there came a time when I knew I wasn't, but I still loved hockey and still played, ended up as the captain of the Voyageurs, and loved that role, and played some senior A. So I still loved hockey, but I knew I wasn't going to make it, right? I decided, what am I going to do? And I met firefighting, and I was like, wow, that looks like, that's awesome. And this was pre 9/11. And so I say that firefighting is a lot like hockey, which it is. So when you're in the fire hall and you're sitting there and you're doing your thing and you're horsing around with the guys and girls and you're you're playing pranks and you're making breakfast stuff. It's like being in the dressing room. You're getting ready for the game and it's nothing's real serious yet. It's pretty light and you're having fun. And then, you get a fire call. It's all business. And we go to work and we want to win, right? We want to solve the problem, help the people, and win. It's like going out in the ice, right? First period starts. It's all business, right? There's no more goofing around. It's all business. And so it's so directly related. And then that team atmosphere, right? The hockey team, I missed that. I need that. I love that. The dressing room was my favorite part. And so firefighting is just completely a team game. If you don't have your team, you're not successful. Right. So that's how I got into firefighting. And that's kind of the transition that happened.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing that? And can you explain how you've kind of rose through the ranks and what you started with to what you're doing now?
Yeah. So 25 years. I started as a volunteer. So I took a co-op my last year of high school because I wanted to go back and win a couple more championships in football and rugby. Right. So I went back and I took a co-op with the fire department. So I would go in the morning and I'd wash the floors and wash the trucks at the fire hall and, prepare the gear and stuff. I wasn't allowed to go to the calls. And then I would go to, rugby practice and do rugby and football or whatever after. And so I did a full year of that. Right. And so as soon as I graduated, the chief was like, you have to graduate first. We'll take you on as a volunteer. So, the day I graduated, I was 19 years old, became a volunteer firefighter. And I was actually still playing junior A hockey. And I remember leaving the dressing room after practices. I had a pager and I would get a call and leave the dressing room and go to a call. And the guys would, think that was hilarious, right? Just going right to work from the junior A hockey room, right? Awesome. But and that's how it started. And then I, responded to all the calls and I got a kind of a part-time gig with them. They had standby slots open, so you could actually work at the station for 8 hours during the day. So I did that under Gary Bullock, and then opening came in dispatch. So I was dispatching and volunteer firefighting. So dispatch would be like dispatching just for the fire department. So you get to know all the people, all the trucks. And I figured, I take every little avenue I could to get on full time, right? And then a full-time spot came up in dispatch, and I took that for about a year. And then they finally hired full-time personnel. They finally needed people. So I was still in immaculate shape and, finished top of the class and got hired full-time at 23 years old.
Yeah. Good for you. Is there anyone you can kind of point out to say that kind of took you under your wing, to say maybe saw something in you and be like, hey, this is our guy.
100%.
Keep doing what you,
Yeah. Chief Gary Bullock. He was like a second father to me. He came to all the V's games and watched me play. I did quite a bit of fighting, as you might know, and he loved when I fought, and he just go back to the fire hall, he'd talk about it all day. But he gave me my first opportunity. I remember when I walked in there I was 18. I hadn't turned 19 yet, and I was going to do the co-op. And I walked in and proposed my plan. I was like, I'd like to do this. And at the time I had just went to Florida with a bunch of buddies, and we had got earrings up in our top of ears, and I had a goatee, and I had bleach blonde hair for hockey. Right. And I walked in and he looked at me and said, son, go home, take that earring out and shave your face. And then you can come back. Until then, I'm not talking to you. And I was like, oh, wow. It's serious, right? And I'm like, yes, sir. And I left, and I did. I came back the next day. I mean, the earring had been pulled out twice already when I was wrestling with my buddies, so it was not staying anyways. And it's funny, 2 weeks later, none of us had them anymore. Shaved my face, came in with a shirt and tie, presentable, and he said, let's go sit in my office. And that was he gave me my first chance. And he could have just said, beat it and don't come back, right? But he was like, he saw something in me, and then we, obviously then he became good friends, and we're still friends to this day. He's retired. He had almost 50 years in the fire service when he retired. Unreal. Yeah. And so he's the reason I got into firefighting. He gave me my first start, and he saw us, there's a group of young guys like me that he saw through and helped out. So he's Gary Bullock's a legend amongst the fire community in Kingston.
Yeah, that's amazing, Mike. What we want to dive into, obviously, is what makes your story unique. You've had a couple very large accidents that obviously is a big part of your life. So tell us about that and how you came out on the other side with incredible optimism, openness, and a calling to serve others, and where that calling came from.
Yeah. So 2007 was my first big accident. I was out snowmobiling on Lowborough Lake, and I was going across the lake at midnight. It was pitch black. It was a snowstorm, so the snow was like going sideways. And I was following a guy that knew the lake, and I was thinking to myself, if I lose his tail light, I can't find him. I might get lost out here and drive around till I run out of gas and freeze to death. Like when you're on the middle of a lake at night, you do not know where you are. You're lost. So I kept speeding up and catching his tail light and being like, okay, there's his tail light. And then I would lose it and I'd speed up and I'd catch his tail light. And I did that 3 or 4 times. And then the fifth time I'm speeding up and I can't find his tail light. So I'm speeding up and more and more and more to the point where I was doing like 80 miles an hour blindly across this lake. And the next thing I know, 10 feet in front of me, I saw an island, and I just let go of the handlebars. I said, I'm dead. And then I sat up. I was, oh my God, I'm alive. And I immediately like feel pain. I look down, my left leg is snapped off at the femur. You can see it was grossly deformed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm in the middle of this island, in the middle of a lake, midnight, pitch black, -20, snowstorm. Like, can't get worse. Pull my phone out. It was one of those flip phones at that time, right? 911, and the phone dies. So, those old batteries, they used to get cold and they die, yep. Right? So throw the phone. I'm like, what am I going to do? So I took a quick inventory of what I had. I had a lighter, and every once in a while there was a break in the snow, and I saw a cottage on this island, and I was like, I'm going to crawl to the cottage and light it on fire, and the flames will be hundreds of feet in the air, and the fire department will come and find me and save me. So that's what I was going to do. So I started crawling, and about 5 minutes into crawling, and I remember crawling and pulling my leg. I could feel it was almost in 2 pieces, the bone, right? And I was in a tremendous amount of pain, a 10 out of 10 for real. I always say for real, right? Because people don't know what a 10 out of 10 is until you go through something like that. And I laid down and I was like, just die and get it over with. And then I started thinking, I can't do this to my parents. I can't do this to my family. I can't go out like this, and started crawling again. And so I crawled for another 5 minutes or so. And then I laid down a second time, and I tried to die. I was just like, just die. I'm okay with it. Just die. And then I started thinking, and you think funny things that motivate you at the time, but I was like, you're supposed to be this tough guy in hockey, this tough firefighter, and you're going to go out like this. You're going to be a pussy and go out like this. No, like that's how they're going to remember you. There's no way. And I started going again, and it motivated me. Right. And I started crawling again. And at that time, then I heard a snowmobile come back. So the guy had realized, he got to the other side, realized, I wasn't with him, and he went searching for me. And finally he found pieces of snowmobile all over the ice, and we hollered back and forth, and he got me on the snowmobile, drove me in. I get into the hospital, and it's like buzzing in the room, right? They're cutting your clothes off. They're doing all their thing. And I go into surgery. And so when I wake up the next morning, I look down, and my leg's in this big halo, and it's all in a cast, right? And it's all fixed up. And I'm like, okay, perfect. And then I look, and I've got this big cast on my arm. I'm like, there was nothing wrong with my arm. I was crawling. I was doing, using it for all kinds of things. What's wrong with my arm, doc? And the doc's like, well, you had a compound fracture. It was sticking out through your arm, the ulna. And I'm just like, how's that possible? It's like your adrenaline was going, and you were so focused on your leg that, you just didn't notice. And so that's pretty crazy what the human body can do, right? When it needs to. It ignored the fact that I had a broken arm, a very badly broken arm, and just focused on surviving, right? So now I have a titanium plate in my arm, for forearm. I got a titanium rod for femur on my left side, titanium kneecap, and 33 pins and screws holding it all together. And funny enough, 8 months later, I came back to work full time. So I went back after about a month and a half on light duties in a wheelchair. Because I was just like, I miss the guys. I miss what's going on. I want to be part of it. Right. And I was just bored. And it was just that mindset. Like they would say, do 10 push-ups. I'd be like, yeah, okay, no problem. I go home and do 1,000. Like I was just like, whatever they say, I'm going to crush it, and I'm going to get back to work way quicker. And like, they had given me a timeline of like, at first it was like, okay, well, you can't be a firefighter anymore. Then it was like, yeah, you'll be back in a couple of years. And I'm like, yeah, no. Right. And went back on light duties against the doctor's recommendation, and then, trained my butt off and got back to normal. And you wouldn't even know I was in an accident unless you see the scars. I went back to playing hockey. I was a catcher in fastball. So like kneeling down, catching, I went back to catching, went back to everything. I didn't limp. You never would have known I had an accident at all. And so it was all, I attributed it all to sports. And it was like, okay, this is a challenge, right? And I'm going to win. And I'm like, they say I can't do it. Screw them. I'm going to do it. Right. And that's how that was my mindset the whole time until I came back. And it's funny, like, if you ask friends of mine, they'll be like, oh yeah, no, there was no doubt that he was going to come back. Right. And I love hearing that because it's like, okay, well, I built that, that reputation over time. And in sports, I never missed a game. I never missed a hockey game, never missed a junior A game. Even if I was hurt, I wouldn't tell anybody. I'd just be whatever, just play. Right. And because I needed to be there for my teammates, and that's what it was. Right. And that, Danny, like, that's, you're with a close team and they rely on, especially someone like me that, at my level at junior A, I was probably the toughest in my division, and if not the league at that time. And so they need that confidence. Right. And the game, I just couldn't not be there for them. Right. The guys would say that to me. Oh, you got to be there. What if they start, taking liberties on us, that kind of thing. Right. So I always had that mindset, even with firefighting. It was like, okay, I got to be there. I got to be there for my team. What if there's a big fire and they need a door kicked in and go in to save somebody? I got to do that. Right. So I was like, that's mindset always. So that was accident number one, and got through it. You never would have known. And then we fast forward to 2016. I was out for a ride on a motorcycle. I grew up on a farm, right? We rode dirt bikes, four-wheelers, snowmobile, anything that had an engine and went fast. And so as soon as I could have a motorcycle, I did. And so I'm out for a drive on a motorcycle on a windy road, North Shore Road, which is ironically like 3 kilometers from where I hit that island is where my accident was. And so I'm out on going down the road, everything's fine, doing like 60 kilometers an hour. And I just see a brown flash in the corner of my eye. And boom, I get run into by a deer. And I didn't go down, and the deer kind of scampered away, and I get into a speed wobble. And by the time I got control of the bike, I look up and there's a 90-degree turn in the road. So I'm like, shit. I try to turn as hard as I could. So I counter steered as hard as I could, the peg scraping off the road. And I think I got it. I'm almost around the corner, and the back tire touches the gravel on the shoulder of the road. And I hadn't slowed down. I was still doing like 60. And the bike just shoots right out from under me. So as I'm going down, being a firefighter, I'm like, don't hit your head. You hit your head, you die, or you're brain dead. And there's, I've never seen as a firefighter a good result. And so I try to ride it out on my butt. I bounced off the road on my butt, and I bounced into the ditch, and I went feet first into the ditch, and I watched my right leg hit a rock as I slid in and snap right off. And the bike comes in behind me, hits the rock, and lands on top of me. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I did it again. I killed myself again. And now I got to do this all over again. Like this immediately went into my head.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, here we go again. I can't lose. I might not win, but I'm not going I'm not going to give up. Right. I'm going to fight.
Yeah.
And so I take the bike and I flip it off me. And when they say like, a mother gets a superhuman strength when a baby's under the car or whatever, and they can lift the car and like they get this adrenaline rush. I'm a pretty strong guy, and I took that 750 pound, 800 pound bike and I bench pressed it off me. And it'll be more, amazing when you know what my injuries were. So flip the bike off, I look down, my knee's dislocated out of the socket and holding on by a little bit of skin, and I'm bleeding. So I take my belt, pull it out, tourniquet my leg, right? So when I do a tourniquet, a normal one, it cuts it right off. I knew the belt wouldn't do a perfect job, but it would help. It might buy me some time, right? So I do it, and it hurt like hell. Like it's right like out of the movies, and you're pulling and you're just screaming, and you tie it off. And then I look down, there's like a white ball. I'm like, what is that? And I realized it was the ball of my ankle. My foot was ripped off, and the ball of my ankle was showing. And I was like, this is right out of a horror movie. Like, how can it get any worse? I'm looking at my leg ripped off in a couple different spots. Like it's just pulled apart. And I'm just like, I stay focused. So as I'm doing all this stuff, a car drives by. I'm like, a car just drove by and didn't see me. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And so I'm like, okay. And I grabbed a couple broken bike parts that broke off the bike, and I'm throwing them up out into the road, and I take my helmet off and I throw it up on the road. And the next car that came stopped. And this little old lady gets out of the car, not real old, but say 65 or something, and comes to the edge of the road. And I figure she's going to see this and be like, nope, right? Like, not quite, it's too gory. It's too gory. Meanwhile, nope, she comes down in the ditch, and it always chokes me up, fellas, but she puts her arms around me. And she tells me it's going to be okay. And honestly, that's what I needed, right?
Yeah.
I was alone in the ditch. I was talking. So in that time, I had phoned the fire department. I didn't phone 911. I phoned the fire department. I was like, "It's Mike Lock. I'm in the ditch, North Shore Road. Come get me. I'm dying." And the whole time I had it on speakerphone. I'd set the phone down. I was telling them to tell my family I love them. I'm dying, right? And this lady comes down the ditch and just sits with me and tells me it's going to be okay. And at that time, it just gave me this extra, like, I'm going to make it, right? And it's just this day and age, we all know that people will walk right over top of someone on the sidewalk laying there, right? And they'll see an accident and they'll do whatever they can to drive around that accident and have nothing to do with it. When you could be that lady for someone, right? She was the turning point in that ditch. Instead of giving up, I changed my mind. I was like, okay, she said, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Right.
Yeah.
And like, this is 9 years later. And I've told this story hundreds of times and it still gets me because that's how impactful that moment of my life was.
Right.
And so my mom actually found out who she was. I thought she was going to be like some retired nurse and could handle that stuff. And she was a teacher. She was a retired teacher. And she just was brave and a nice enough person that she was going to make a difference that day. Anyway, so I could hear the sirens coming finally, and it was a long old road, right? So the sirens took a long time to get there. I was in the ditch for 17 minutes on that phone, basically saying goodbye to everybody and whatnot. And then the first firefighter on scene, I actually knew him. He was a volunteer firefighter from South Frontenac. I knew him, and he's like, "Mike, I got you. You're in good hands, right?" And so I just kind of let go at that point. It was like, just get it done. I knew what was going to happen from that point. I've done it to hundreds of people, and so they packaged me up in the ambulance. The chief of South Frontenac was there, which was my old captain from Kingston. He rode the ambulance with me, and we got into the hospital, and they opened the back of the door of the ambulance, and they wheeled me out. And meanwhile, there's a lineup of firefighters and the chief and the training division and everybody. They've got like a tunnel, and they wheeled me through the tunnel of my brothers, right, and sisters. And so meanwhile, I didn't know this, but when I was on the phone saying goodbye and stuff, they were all huddled over the phone listening to me. So there was like 25 people in the room listening to me dying in the ditch, right? And as soon as I hung up the phone, they all piled into vehicles and raced to the hospital. And powerful, right? Like, it's talk about a team here and like a true brotherhood, sisterhood, right? It's just like, and I get to the end of the line, and the Chief Armstrong, Sean Armstrong, is the last one. He leans over and he says, "Mike, don't worry about your job. It'll be here when you're better." And like, he knew how bad it was, and he still knew that I needed to hear that, right? Because at the time, I was a 36-year-old single guy, and my whole life was the fire department. I was Mike the firefighter, right? And now I had just ruined that. And like, you can't firefight with no leg. It's impossible. It's never been done before, right? And so I needed that. Like, it was just these little things, these little moments that were like game changers for me. And so they wheel me in. It's like bees buzzing. And I remember they couldn't give me enough painkillers. It wouldn't do anything. And they tried a whole bunch of stuff. And then the doctor leans over. He's like, "Mike, I'm going to put you in a coma." And I remember begging him. This is like 2 hours in at this time. When I say 10 out of 10, it's really like a 30 out of 10, right? Pain.
Yeah.
I'm like, please put me in a coma. Please. I was begging him. And so they put me in a coma. I was in a coma an induced coma for 8 days. And I thought I died, actually. In my head, while I was sleeping, I thought I was dead. And I kind of accepted it. I was like, okay, well, I tried, right? I gave it a shot, and I didn't make it. And after the 8 days, I wake up, I open my eyes, and my mom's right there. And she's like, "It's okay, Mike, you're alive. It's okay. But don't move." And I realize that I'm strapped to this bed. And they had tried to wake me up a couple times, but I don't wake up well, apparently, when you're in a coma. Some people don't wake up well. And so they strapped me to the bed, but they also strapped me because I realized I had this big neck brace on. And so I got this neck brace on, and she's like, you can't move. She goes, you broke your back in 3 spots and you broke your neck in 2 spots. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I kind of look down and my leg is reattached and it's in this big halo. And so I'm like, I'm a complete disaster. I didn't know about my neck and back. I'd thrown this bike off me. I was throwing parts on the road. I was moving around, and I had 5 breaks from my neck down to my tailbone, right? And so they had put 2 12-inch rods in my back, all attached to my vertebrae, and put me back together again, right, for the second time. Wow. And so, I had this leg that was reattached, but it wasn't really reattached. I couldn't feel it, and they would test it, and there was no blood flow. And so 3 days later, they came in and were like, Mike, we're going to amputate your leg to save you. Because actually, my whole body was putting all of its energy towards trying to heal this leg that wasn't going to heal. And I was getting very sick, and I was getting infected, and I was like literally shriveling up, turning gray, and dying. And when they amputated it, I actually it's instant. My body came back to life. Right. I stopped being sick. Yeah. It's crazy. Your body, your body just focuses on what needs to be fixed, and it sends all its energy there. Right. We're pretty, our bodies are pretty cool that way. And, so, I had to deal with the fact that I was going to not have a leg, because even though they reattached it, I knew the whole time it wasn't good. And I'd been preparing myself, but once they tell you they're like, we're actually cutting your leg off, it hits hard. Right. And so I grieved with my family, grieved for about an hour. And then I was like, okay, you know what? There's nothing I can do. This isn't growing back. Dad, grab me that iPad right there, and I have an iPad sitting there. And he's like, yeah, okay. And I go, look up what the best prosthetic leg in the world is, because I need it right now. Right. And okay. So we Google it. And this leg comes up, the Autobot X3. It's this, military leg that's bulletproof, dustproof, sandproof, waterproof. It does it all. And there's this guy standing there, this Green Beret operator with his leg on, and he's jacked, and he looks like a killer. I'm like, that's the one right there. I need to be that guy. And he's like, yeah, whatever. Okay. And so this was like early on. They just amputated my leg right there. Oh, they hadn't even amputated yet. They haven't even taken my leg off yet. And I was like, that's what I need. So they amputate, and then you got to learn, you got to go through like healing, and then you got to prepare your stump to wear a leg, and then you get your leg. So, about 4 months later, I got that exact leg that we looked up that day was my first leg. And I've had 4 of them since. And, it was all like my mindset. I'm like, I have to have the best, because I need to go back to work. And they were all like, yeah, back to work, like dispatching or something, right? Like, I'm like, no, I'm a firefighter. That's all. I don't know how to do anything else. I don't want to do anything else. And so it was kind of a pipe dream, but not to me, right? And I was like, I did this before, I can do it again. But then I started researching. It hadn't been done before, and it hadn't been done before in North America. So I was like, well, I'll figure it out. So I started training, got in really good shape, and started going to the fire ground. My fire crew was helping me train. And finally the chief's like, I heard you want to come back. And I'm like, yep. He goes, okay. So I know this hasn't been done before. So this is, a big liability on our shoulders. But he goes, I don't see why, if you can't pass the physical test you did to get on, why you can't still do your job if you can do it like everyone else. And I'm like, perfect. Right. So I had now a benchmark. And so we trained, and the time came, and I passed with flying colors. I actually had a couple times better than 2-legged people. And and so like I had that little bit of a bragging right over a few people, but I passed and became Canada's first and still only above knee amputated full-time firefighter. And at the same time, there was a guy in the US that had lost his leg on a motorcycle, firefighter. And so he had contacted me actually when we were trying to get back, and he beat me back to work. So he beat me by 2 months. But the only reason, guys, that he beat me is because he only lost his leg. I broke my neck, back, and lost my leg. So he's a pussy. And and so we talk like we're friends, right? His name is Brandon Anderson.
Yeah.
And and I actually said that to him, right? Like, you're a wuss, dude. Like, you just lost your leg. That's no big deal. And so anyways, congrats to him. And so he became the first in the US, and I was the first in Canada. And
but screw him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, that's the story about my accidents and getting back. It's just like always using that competitive mindset. It's like, you say I can't do it, then I'm doing it, right? I'm going to win. And that's kind of what got me through it.
It's funny, like how like sports, hockey, whatever, even growing up on the farm, but then getting into firefighting kind of saved your life twice, right? Like, because you like put yourself in that victim's position that you've probably seen many times to know, like, okay, this is happening, and you can kind of slow things down and be like, okay, I understand what's happening, and it saved yourself. Sounds like it twice.
Yeah, I never really thought about it too hard that way, but you're right. Getting into that, but getting into that profession saved my life for sure. I wouldn't have the tools to survive if I didn't. I can guarantee that.
Yeah. Oh, I think you'd be okay too. Like, before we went live here, we were just talking about U60. Love the hat you have. And can you talk a little bit about that and who you're who you're partnered with and what that all means to you and what it does today?
Yeah, so Jarrett Robertson, we're longtime friends. We're friends since we were 10. More rivals at 10 years old. We played Atom hockey. I played for Gananoque, and he played for Kingston Township. And he was the best Atom hockey player, possibly in Canada, but definitely in Ontario. He'd score like 500 some goals a year, right? And so when we played them, we'd always lose to them by like a goal or two, and he would score all their goals. And so I just hated the guy, right? And so the next year, though, we all combined all the teams for AAA. The first year of GK was the next year, right? And so when we all came together, we made this like all-star team, which was awesome. And we sat beside each other in the dressing room and became fast friends. And so I was actually the captain of that team, by the way. That's my bragging rights over him, because he was the captain of his team and we came together, and I was only the assistant of the Gananoque team, and I became the captain. So I have that over him. But Jared and I have been friends forever. And he's the guy that I can call when I want to talk about something. And we talked earlier. It's like, guys like us don't go and reach out to other guys to talk. We just bottle it up, right? Or we just don't have that person. And he's always been that person for me, where I can just, something's going on at home or something in my life, and I just call him. And so Jarrett started a platform called Make It a Great Day, and he's published a couple books. And so he's got a little thing going, that he gets himself out there and tries to help people. And then I started speaking in front of schools and, and other audiences. And so I was like, Jared, why don't we try to do something together? It'd be kind of fun. We're best buddies. I get to see you more. Let's try to do something together. So we combined. And so now we do keynote speaking, public speaking. We have a website, Untap 60, that has courses and stuff to better your life. And so, that's what we've been doing together. But the Untap 60 part is, so when they say when you're down and out. So when I was lying in that ditch dying, you've only actually used up 40% of your human potential. So when I thought I was done and I was like, I'm going to die, that's it, I've actually still got 60% more to give. And so the same goes for like that soldier that's laying in the middle of the battlefield and his legs are blown off and he's just like, okay, lay down and die. But he doesn't. He crawls to safety, and then in the meantime is still shooting and carrying, and still putting up a fight. He's tapped into that untapped 60% that most people never get to. And because most people just stop at that 40% and don't know that there's more, or just can't access that other 60%. So what Jared and I are trying to do is tell everyone, yes, you've got more to give. If you're at your worst, or you're going through hard times, you're going through whatever it is in your life, it's not over. You have so much more to give. You can get through this and come out on the other side like I did. And so how many times have I, my story's not even over yet, but how many times have I been, at my worst and probably should have given up maybe and didn't, because I tapped into that other side, that other 60% that I still had left in me.
Mm-hmm.
So something unique, you actually got the wrong brother on here to do this podcast. My brother used to fight forest fires, and now he designs and fits prosthetics for a living.
No way.
So obviously, just north of Seattle in the US. Yeah. So he's very familiar with. He hasn't gone through it himself, but he lives lives
The
what you've
life.
gone through every day. Yeah. So obviously I reached out to him with the connections that you guys share here, and he wanted to know what sort of struggles you face within your career, and what sort of modifications maybe are at play for you. He was wondering about when you have to do climbing or anything like that.
Yeah, good question. And that is my basically only struggle in life is stairs are my worst enemy, right? I've learned to just be patient and use my left leg and just take 2 stairs at a time on the left side over and over and just do it and just put my head down and go. And I keep up with anybody else. Most of the time I'm leading I got promoted to acting captain just recently, which was a big thing because I was actually going to do that process the year of my 2016, the year of my accident. And so when I came back, I was just like, I'm just gonna be a firefighter. I'm not gonna ask too much, right? I've already been, got back. Let's just call that enough. And then most recently, some of the guys I work with are like, why not? Why not? You do everything. No one even notices you don't have a leg anymore. Huge compliment for someone without a leg, right?
Yeah.
And so I did the process and passed and became an acting captain, which is so now I'm leading the guys up the stairs. So I'm like, I got to go faster, right? I don't want them to think I'm slow. And then for ladders, same thing, just left leg, one after another. As long as you can do the job, calm, cool, collective, and get it done, they're happy, right? And like I said, I still go at a pace that is sometimes faster than two-legged people anyways. And the biggest hurdle though at the start was, how do I get a prosthetic into a fire boot within under a minute and get all my gear on in under a minute? And so we had to visit that, and it's impossible to slide your foot into the fire boot. It's so snug, and then it's stuck on there, and you can't get it off when you get back. It takes 2 people. So how do we do that? So what we did is, I need 2 legs. So I have 2 exact same legs. One's in my fire boot, waiting for me at the truck. So I'll pop my left shoe off, slide it into my fire boot, pop my right leg off, and the membrane stays onto my stump, and I slide it into the other socket that's waiting, put the pin in, and away I go. So it's just as fast as changing 2 shoes, but I change a shoe and a leg. And so that was something for my, my leg guy, I call him, Marty Robinson, who, he's like, this has never been done before. I don't even have any references to go off of. So, but being a young, guy that's very, loves his job and was eager to figure it out, I had the right guy here in Kingston. And so he tried all these different things and he just figured it out, and we figured it out together. And we've tried many different, parts and different, sockets over the years. I've had 8 different sockets now because your leg shrinks over time. And so we've actually got it like dialed in now where it's like, we got the right process here because it's easy. Right. So yeah, good questions. Stairs, they suck, but I have to do them. So I just put my head down, grit my teeth and go.
Yeah. Would love to start talking about your locker talk, because you got a podcast too.
Well, it's not a podcast. It's actually just a Zoom that I do. So I get questions all the time, right? If you're in the position I am, where your Ken is only above knee amputated firefighter, you're gonna get questions from not only amputees, but there's other stuff that I've been through as well, right? So in 2011, my girlfriend committed suicide. I came home and found her, and I didn't see it coming. And, I'd rather crash that snowmobile 100 times than go through what I was going through emotionally. Right. And so that triggered, a chain reaction. So in 2007, when I got my first accident, I got prescribed painkillers. First time I'd ever taken them. And now everyone knows about painkillers, but at the time I didn't. And I was taking them, and they were prescribing them to me for a couple of years, and as many as I wanted, as many as I needed. And then all of a sudden doctors started getting in trouble and they weren't allowed to do it anymore. So I got cut off. And I was like, okay, whatever. I don't need them anymore. Well, I didn't realize how sick I was going to get. Right. So I had to go on a program and get off them properly. It was embarrassing, right? It was embarrassing and it sucked. I didn't ask for that. I didn't want that. And now I felt like a scumbag. So I was able to get off them. Then 2011 comes, my girlfriend Jen kills herself. I find her and I go right off the deep end and back onto painkillers, because it's the only way I knew how to drown out what was going on. And because being a firefighter, hockey player guy, didn't want to talk to anybody. I could handle it myself, right? And I relapsed on painkillers, and to the point where I got arrested, and I got caught buying them and got arrested. And you talk about hitting rock bottom. So your girlfriend's now dead, right? You're addicted to painkillers again, so you're feeling like a piece of shit, and then you get arrested on top of that. So my whole, everything everyone knew about Mike Laughlin was all flipped right upside down, right? And I just felt like I was at rock bottom. And so luckily I have good friends and family that came to save me, and basically had like a small intervention. It was like, listen, we get that this sucks, we get it, but it's time to start rebuilding yourself and getting back to who you are. And so that's what I did, right? Got off the painkillers, got life back to normal a little bit. And that's when, just started sailing again, and 2016 came. But I kind of got off topic with your question, but
no, this is great.
That's all part of the, what we're talking about here. And then, and so it just, it just goes to show you again, like I got knocked down again and was able to overcome a whole different thing that was going on. And it's the mental game is even worse, right? The emotional and mental game. And what comes with that is depression. What comes with that is PTSD from the accidents, from the death. And so like, there's all kinds of things to unravel there. So back to the Zoom meetings. That's why I started doing the Zoom meetings, because people, I've been through a lot. I've been through a couple lifetimes of shit, and there's not much I can't answer or I can't give advice on. And so I started getting lots of people that were addicted to substances, or alcoholics, or people that have suffered trauma, or, lots of suicide, people that dealt with suicide or have thought about suicide, messaging me. And I'm like, I got to give people an avenue to talk, because that is the only thing that saved me, was starting to talk about it like I am right now. And for a long time, I couldn't talk to you guys about this. It was embarrassing. I would never say a word about any of it. And now it feels good to say this, right? Especially someone like you, Danny. Like I look up to you. I respect you. And for me to say this to you is like a huge thing, right? Because I know that you're going to accept it well. And I know you're going to learn from it, though, because of who you are. But before, I'd be like, I'm not telling him that. He's, that's embarrassing for me. So we got Zoom. So Locker Talk started, and that's just for anybody, it's a male, or, it's a male talk. So any guys that want to talk about anything, come on there. And then what came from that was, it's actually called Ladies Locker. And I don't actually run that, but I started it. And a girl named Ainsley Ronsky runs it, and it's for any women that want to talk. I was finding that at the start it was men and women, but a lot of women got intimidated by the guys on it, right? And they wouldn't say much. And I think it was like, they didn't want to be embarrassed, or didn't want to say the wrong thing in front of guys or whatever. So it wasn't a good mix on those subjects, right? So we split it up. So there's two Locker Talk and Ladies Locker. And then April 7th will be the debut of Locker Talk Amputee. So then I started getting amputees that were like, I don't quite fit in the addiction world, and I don't fit in here and there, but what about an amputee one? I'm like, well, why not? Right. Let's keep rolling with this. So it's a lot of volunteer time, but it's so worth it though, because it's healing for everybody. It's healing for me too. So, I'll trade that. That's a good trade-off any day.
Yeah, I've got a buddy that's struggled with addiction, and we have a rule: if he calls me to come get him, I will, and no questions asked. Twice now. And my deal back to him is, if I call him and say bring a shovel, he's got to show up with a shovel. the latter part's a joke, but
Mark,
he would.
That's huge. If everybody had one person in their life that was like that, the world would be a better place, right? And so I'm lucky. I probably got like a handful of guys that I could call at any time and be like, I got to talk to you or whatever. Jarrett's like the one for the more, emotional stuff. And then I do have a few of those guys that I could call and be like, grab a shovel too. But it's just, good for you, Mark, to be that person, because everybody needs that person.
Yeah, he would. And actually, I invited him on to the Locker Talk. I was thinking of popping on last Friday. he couldn't make it, and something came up with me too, because I wanted to check it out before this interview. But he would openly say that I've saved his life twice, which is makes me pretty proud, actually.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna switch gears here on you. You have an interesting story of how you met your wife Angela, correct?
Oh yeah, the best part of the whole story, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That
Okay.
was the next one. Yeah.
So at the most unpredictable and time I met her. So I was in the hospital. I was 30 days in KGH. Then I got sent to St. Mary's. It's a rehabilitation hospital. You basically learn how to be an amputee at that point, right? You're learning how to get around in the kitchen and do your everyday stuff without a leg before you actually get your prosthetic leg. And so I'm living in that hospital, and I'm bored. I'm a 36-year-old single guy, but I've got a beard at this point. I got long hair, long greasy hair, no shirt on. I'm like 150 pounds. Like I'm normally like 210, 150 pounds. I'm wearing cut off Joe Boxer pajamas, in a wheelchair, neck brace on. Okay. So like literally Joe Dirt in a wheelchair. And like, it just looked, you couldn't look any worse. I've got pictures of it. And so I'm wheeling around looking for hot nurses. I'm a single guy. I like the hospital. There's hot nurses, right? So I'm wheeling around and, chatting it up with everybody. And I'm going down this one hallway, and I was kind of lost in the hospital. I didn't even know where I was. And I go by this one room, and I like jam on the brakes. I'm like, oh my God, look at that girl. And she's bent over the bed. She's the nicest butt I've ever seen. Right. And so then she stands up and turns around and catches me. And when she turned around and caught me, I was like, oh my God. And she's beautiful, the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. And so I'm like, wheel in, and I make small talk. And it was like 10 minutes of small talk and just being a jackass. And then I peel out of there, and I got her name though, right? I remember her name. I'm like saying her name to myself over and over on the way back. And I get back to my room, and I get right onto the iPad, and I'm like, Facebook, creep, right? And I just said, nice to meet you. And then after her shift was over later on, she had said, nice to meet you. And that was kind of it, right? And then so time goes by, I get a leg, start working out, start being a little bit more normal. And she had posted something on Facebook, and I commented, and we chatted for a second. I was like, screw it. And I asked her on a date, and she said yes. I'm like, oh, well, she just being nice, right? Because the poor guy with no leg. And so we go on a date. And so we go for coffee, go for a walk, get back to the cars. And I did the worst thing you can possibly do on a date. I looked her in the eyes, and I said, I want to marry you and have children. And she got in her car.
You said that on the first date?
First date, right to her face. Yeah.
I want to marry you. First date.
And have children. Yeah.
And have.
And Danny, she got in her car and left. Didn't say bye, nothing. Goodbye.
Like there was no response to that. There's nothing.
You're crazy. Goodbye. Right. That was it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You hit your head too hard.
Right. I'm like, well, I blew it, but oh well, I got a date out of it. Right. Like,
Yeah,
it was more than I thought.
Shot, right?
Yeah. I was like, it's more than I thought I was going to get. So a couple months go by, and this girl, she keeps waking up thinking about this amputee guy saying this stupid thing to her. And she's like, why do I keep thinking about him? Why do I keep dreaming about this guy? There's something going on. Like I gotta call him and give him a second chance. There's something going on here. So she messages and says, like, I'm gonna give you another shot, but like pump the brakes, bud. Okay. Like relax. And so we go on another date, and long story short, we got married in 2018. We have a 5-year-old boy, Lincoln. We have a daughter together that she had in a previous relationship, Kiana, who's 14, who has Down syndrome, and she is the life of every room she walks into. And at the time, she was 6 years old when I met Angela. She was what I needed. And Angela was kind of at that, she was like, I've got some baggage, and I didn't know what that was at the time, right? And she's like, so I don't think you want to be with me. Like it's too much. She's like, I have a daughter. I'm like, well, that's okay, right? And she goes, but she's got Down syndrome, and so like a lot of people don't know about that, right, or what that is. And I was like, you kidding me, right? That's awesome, right? And then you meet this little girl, and you're like, oh, she's like perfect, right? So it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I took a shot at my literal worst time of my life. I was at my lowest, right? No leg, in a hospital, completely broken, no future at that time. I didn't know if I was going back to work. You know, I had nothing really. I didn't even own a house or anything at the time. I had nothing. And I took a shot and look what happened.
Awesome.
And so like, that's my advice for everybody is like, never miss an opportunity. If it pops into your head that you should do this, do it, try it. What do you got to lose? Right. And so like, I love giving young guys like advice. I'm like, you know,
amazing.
That girl's hot. Go ask her out. What's the worst she can do? Say no. Right. Yeah. Or you can blow it like I did and put your foot in your mouth. Right. But I literally told her I wanted to marry her and have children. And that's what we've done. Right. So first date, I called it. And
that's Danny, unbelievable.
I was a bit of a sailor, you know, hockey player. I was a bit of a sailor growing up. Right.
It's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
A sailor.
A sailor that never went on a boat.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I saw her in the hospital, I met her. Yeah. I had a feeling I'd never had before. Right. And you can't explain it unless you go through it. And it's like, I knew she was the one. I don't know what happened. I was like, I've never felt like this before from that moment. So yeah, we're living our best life now. And it's all, you know, all because I didn't give up and I took a shot at my worst and like all these, you know, all these things that people say that you should do, but like, it's the truth, right?
Yeah.
It's the truth. Never give up and always take a shot no matter what.
Yeah. Well, I think you're an inspiration for a lot of people in Kingston. I remember when the accidents happened and I know all of Kingston was behind you and we're rooting for you, but we've been on here for 50 minutes. We just have a few more like rapid fire questions here.
Okay, go.
Before I let you go, what's the wildest thing the prosthetic leg has allowed you to do?
Oh, jeepers. Wildest thing?
Pranks or like a prank that you've pulled or maybe access that you've gotten?
So at a couple of our fire crew parties, the guys have actually taken the foot off and done shots out of it. And then at the most recent one, a guy took my socket, my disgusting, sweaty socket, put his mouth over the hole where the suction is and did a beer bong.
Nice.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Love that.
Yeah.
Favorite firehouse meal?
Fajitas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I make them though. And fajitas are my favorite foods, like my favorite thing to eat. And I make them there like all fresh ingredients, and it's just awesome. But there's so many good meals at the firehouse. You know, that's not like anything special, but that's just my favorite.
Nice.
So my brothers designed prosthetics that for kids that were like the Iron Man prosthetics.
Yeah.
If you were a superhero, what would your superhero name be?
So my kids call my leg my Robo leg. So something to do with that. I don't know. I think it's probably like I don't know, Robo Man.
Yeah, there's RoboCop.
Yeah,
right, but I can't really say Robo Firefighter. I don't know. Maybe you can.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it doesn't go very well.
Yeah,
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, we got the spirit there, though.
Yeah,
my kids do think I'm some kind of superhero. They really do. They don't know any different, right? Lincoln doesn't know any different. His dad's got a Robo leg. That's what he calls it. Yeah. Oh, that's just his Robo leg. Like, it's no big deal, right? It's pretty cool.
What brings you the most joy on the regular day?
Helping people now, right? Yeah. It's like I get calls all the time and I get this opportunity to change someone's life. And honestly, sometimes it's just literally talking to someone for 20 minutes and they'll go from, you know, almost suicidal and depressed to sitting on the edge of their bed being like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. I can do, right? Like all it takes is connection and talking to people. And so that brings me the most joy for sure, by far.
Yeah. And sorry, last one before you let you go. I follow you there on Instagram and Facebook. I just noticed you do a ton of cold tubs. How often are you in there and how does it feel and how's the recovery been for inflammation on that?
Yeah. So since I started, I was having a lot of back problems. Believe it or not, my leg is not my problem ever. It's my back where it was broken. And as soon as I started doing it, I felt a lot better. And the inflammation, you know, was gone out of my back. I was doing it every day. And then I was told that that's a little too much. So 3 to 4 times a week and just 45 degrees. I don't go crazy. I don't need it to be 32, 45 and do 5 minutes. And it becomes easy over time. It still sucks. You still play that mind game, which is part of it, right? It's that strengthening your mind, right? and getting that toughness where you can overcome anything. And so I like that part of it as well.
Yeah. Nice.
So something we really didn't tap into is lost limb fitness. Could you just briefly talk about that, and then we'll wrap up with how people can contact you, whether it's for their fitness journey or whether they need help with addiction or want to join the Locker Talk. Just give us every way that people can reach out to you.
Yeah, so limb loss fitness started because I was getting contacted, how did you become a firefighter? You must be in shape. And I was getting all these amputees asking how to get back to their life because they didn't even know where to start. And most of them need to start with like nutrition and losing some weight first, and then getting some exercise. So I was just helping people all the time, and I was like, you know what, I should get a platform that actually like lets people know that they can come to me. So that's how limb loss fitness started, and started helping amputees get in shape. How to eat properly. Counting macros and your calorie intake, and then what exercises you can do as an amputee, and then like laying out a custom plan for them. And it seems to work. Then you gotta market yourself a little bit, which I'm not great at, but you gotta take your tarp off once in a while and be like, look, I'm in shape, right, Danny? And it does actually work. I'm not faking it. So I'm not very good at that yet, but I'll get there.
Yeah. That's awesome.
How can people reach you?
So I'm always on Instagram, Firefighter Amp, at Firefighter Amp. Facebook is Michael D.N. Laughlin. And then you can get us at Untapped 60. You can get me at limblossfitness.com, which is my website. Just message me and I'll contact you back, guaranteed.
Amazing, Michael. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining Danny and I. It's your story is really an inspiration. Yeah. Really appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. You had me getting tingles to tears and a whole bunch of emotional roller coaster here today. So I appreciate your time here.
It was my pleasure, Danny. And Mark, thanks very much.
So Danny, that's Michael Laughlin.
Boom.
Like,
wow.
What an amazing story. What inspiration to anyone who stuck through it. Thank you for sticking through it. His message is super inspirational, and just to have such a positive outlook on life now is incredible.
Yeah. Untapped 60, right? Whenever you're down and out, I think anybody can go through that. I mean, we've all had hard days, but just to see and hear what he's gone through, and then to only realize, like, science come out, you're only actually accessing 40% of that, and there's 60% more to give. Even just knowing that, I think, is an inspiration. And but also the Zoom calls that he does, if people are hurting and just need somebody to talk to, that in itself, that Mike does, is inspirational.
Yeah, his people. Locker Talk. I'm looking forward to jumping on one just to seeing what it's about here at some point. I think we can all improve, right? Whether you're battling from addiction or whatever it is in life, we all can get better. And this Locker Talk sounds like an amazing community to join. But we're going to press on, and we'll talk a little bit about real estate and what's going on in our lives. So we're just coming through a weekend of an ice storm. What did that look like for you, Danny?
It's crazy. Power outage. Yeah. Lots of trees. Obviously, I'm sure most people in and around here probably had the power outage for a little bit. We didn't get it nearly as bad as the Barrie in northern Ontario. I guess it was really bad up there. Really interesting to see the trees and how far that they can bend without breaking, with all like the weight of the trees. Anyway, just a tree guy talking. But hope everyone's okay, and the houses are okay and not too much damage.
Yeah, I had a couple listings that I've had to check on, and had some stuff to deal with clients as we go through these processes. This is part of the business that really I actually I might be a sicko because I get a bit of a kick out of troubleshooting this stuff. I hate to say it, but I actually enjoy these challenges. You hate to see them come up, but part of the process in real estate is about troubleshooting with and being there for your clients and troubleshooting the challenges that you are faced with, whether it's calling an arborist to get a tree cleaned up, or what else, the other things that you can face when these things arise.
Plumber, electrician, saw guy. You just need to have a guy, right?
Correct.
And I agree with you. You never know what's going to come up on a daily basis, whether you're on the buying or selling end, or client relationship. So it's
Mm-hmm.
always good to have a guy, and we're pretty lucky, I think, that we have a community of realtors that we can find someone to help. So
yeah, I've been fortunate to make a few solid connections through this also.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about what traditionally is a busy market time of year for our market to pick up, which is the springtime. Seems to be typically listing season, and what we could expect. What do you think we're seeing right now, Danny?
Well, it's posting season right now for the
Mhm.
military, which, Kingston has a very strong presence. So we are seeing the market move a little bit with that. We were just looking at the stats here before we came on, and the price actually has gone up from this year to last, but the sales are down from last month, this year to last year. I'm sure a lot of things to contribute. Obviously, we got the interest rates drop, which you typically help. But obviously, with the tariffs and everything that's going down south, people, I think, are a little wary. And now we have a Canadian election coming up. So typically, when that happens, housing markets, or most markets, typically tend to stale a little bit.
Yeah, and I do want to address that a little bit. With uncertainty, people are reluctant to make big purchases.
Yep.
But what I want to say with that is that when others are not purchasing, there's usually an opportunity in the market there for someone to make that purchase. So I wanted to address that a little bit.
Absolutely.
So we could end up with listings that sit for a while, and you may have some sellers that are willing to just let go of a property that they need to sell it. Say it's an estate sale or something just needs to go. There's always opportunities when we go through these times. And the other thing that we were talking about yesterday is I don't want to get too deep into it, but what I said to you is these things are rarely as bad as you think they might be.
Yeah, I would agree with you there on Mark. Yeah, no question.
Yeah, we kind of went off what if Canada were to become part of the US, which we don't advocate for, and we certainly don't think that that's going to happen. But would that be as bad as we really think it's going to be? Perhaps not.
Yeah,
but that's worst case scenario, and even if that is our worst case, life will move on. So
I think
that's my view on it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the hallmark of a Canadian right now is always saying please and thank you and holding the door open for somebody, right? I've been around the world, and I do think as a country, we are by far the best at that. So that'll never change.
Yeah, let's keep our identity that.
Yeah.
But let's be strong at the same time.
I agree.
Not be pushed around, but be kind. Rates have dropped again, down to 2.75% Bank of Canada overnight rate. So will that have a huge impact on our market? Probably not at this time. When the future becomes a little bit clearer, though, I think you're going to see a lot of buyers jump back into the market. So like I just said, you may want to get ahead of that. Something I recently did, we talked about it before, I actually did buy a new vehicle.
Yeah.
So I was trying to jump ahead. Yeah, thanks. I was trying to jump ahead of that with the auto tariffs coming in. So savvy purchases right now would be my recommendation. I know there's others that share views of buying a vehicle right now with this uncertainty is not a good idea. I actually think it is to get ahead of the increase in vehicle prices, because you're also going to see the used car market jump up a whole lot with these tariffs. Also, absolutely. I believe that to be true, because when the new market jumps up, you're going to see the residual on the used market also.
Yeah. And I would love to touch base on that. So my lease is coming up here in September, and obviously you hear about the possibility of vehicles going up. And if somebody's actually looking in to get in a vehicle but don't want to pay the increased price, one website to go on is Lease Busters, where you can actually take someone else's lease over, where that fixed cost at the end of that lease is already fixed to that time at which the lease was signed. So you can actually get something that was leased in 2022 or 2021, and that lease is about to expire, drive it for about a year, and then you're locked into that price at the end of its term. So another way you can get away from paying extra for a car with all the tariffs going on. So
on the listing side, let's talk about a spring listing checklist.
Sure.
With the first obviously being getting that debris cleaned up from our ice storm and all the branches, and maybe you've had a limb that's come down. So to set yourself up with some nice curb appeal as we head into a time where the snow is melted, get that initial impression of your listing looking top notch.
Yeah, I would say it's grass seed time, right?
Yeah.
It's spring cleaning right around the corner. It's still pretty cold out there, but
Yeah.
I am looking forward to cleaning the garage. I can tell you that. We put a pile of things in there, right? So we're right around the corner. And it's exciting time. Get back on the lawnmower and start cutting the grass and get the flower gardens ready. I know we've got a lot of mulching to do, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited to the weather's going to get better. Maybe get some patio beers. It's right around the corner.
It's never been more important to price properly and get your product ready for market, though.
Yeah.
Like, pricing is key right now. One of your sayings, I believe, was you got to be better for less. So get that right. Absolutely. In this market right now. Your home has got to be positioned for market better than your competition and offered for less. Because I don't know right now, what are we?
32 days on market.
32 days on market.
Average.
So
yeah.
And some of our listings just really don't sell. They're overpriced and not ready for market, and they're taken off the market because they're just not marketed to sell.
Yeah. And like, as we talked about, it's got to smell good. It's got to look good. It almost has to feel like a hotel room when you go into the house, almost like it's not your own anymore. We find that's a really big apprehension for sellers, is that when you put it on the market, you almost have to let it go before it's even sold. So, but what we are seeing, if the house is priced right, it is staged. Sometimes it's going into multiples right now. So it's a very weird market that if, the listing agent does its job, it's going to sell fairly quickly. But if sellers thinks that it's like you were in COVID times, we're not. You have to do your work. You got to put in the work before you actually get to market, because there are buyers out there, but we are right now in a buyer's market.
Let's kick it over to some puck talk now.
Yeah, love to.
We NHL season is carried on after the trade deadline. What are you seeing out there right now, Danny?
Right now, I'm so excited for the playoffs because the Montreal Canadiens are doing well. Not that I'm a Habs fan, but it looks like all the Canadian teams could get in. Now, I know Vancouver's kind of taken a bit of a nosedive. St. Louis has kind of won 9 in a row, so they're on a winning streak. But I mean, what a first round matchup if we can get Toronto and Ottawa, or Toronto Montreal first round. It's just better for the country when all these Canadian NHL teams get in. And on the west side, Calgary, I know is a little bit is slipping a bit. We'd love to see them get in. And then the Oilers slipping a bit, but they won without McDavid, and hopefully he gets healthy for playoffs, because again, how fun was that last year when we got to see Edmonton go all the way to the Cup finally? I know it didn't do well for our sleep because it was the games are Western time, but Battle of Ontario looks like it's going to be a great first round. I'm really excited.
Yeah, that is super exciting. The last, it was back in somewhere in the 1980s that all the Canadian teams actually made the playoffs. Really? It dates back that far. Okay. Yeah, so that would be incredible this year. We need to get a Canadian Cup.
Yes, I know. In saying that, I heard a stat the other day that the last time that the Bruins and the Red Wings didn't make the playoffs in the same year was 1967, when the Leafs won the Stanley Cup. And right now, the Bruins and the Red Wings are not slated to make the playoffs.
Who is your team? You're an Ottawa guy, right?
I grew up in Ottawa. You know what? I'm a fan of players more so than teams. Yeah. Just guys that, I used to play with or have some sort of connection to. Like, I just want to see them, like our Kingston boys.
Yeah.
Like Velarde. Love to see Taylor Hall. He's doing great in Carolina, which is awesome. Some guys that I've played with and still playing with. I just, cheer for those guys.
Yeah. I'm a Habs fan.
Love to see a Canadian team win, though.
Yeah.
I was 7 years old when the Habs won the Stanley Cup, and that was the last team to win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see it.
Yeah, I am a Habs fan. So, but I got to say, Montreal versus Ottawa or the Leafs, I'm going to have fun with my family. My grandmother, who's 92 or 93, still super, super sharp. And she's a diehard Leafs fan. I would sacrifice Habs getting knocked out to see the Leafs win the Cup.
I know. I think I would love to see it in my lifetime too.
Yeah.
And with this new coach and the way they play, I think they've got a good chance. But
yeah,
it's going to be tough. They're in a tough division, and
My grandma needs to see the Leafs win the cup.
I know.
That's
At least get past the second round, or let alone the first round.
yeah,
right?
no, she needs a cup. She deserves the cup,
She
Danny.
got to go all the way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the other side, my wife and her family are all Ottawa fans, so that gets fun. That series gets fun for me too.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be fun at the dinner table, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
You ready to jump over to some golf talk?
Love to. Yeah.
All right.
Lots to
So
talk about.
Rory beats JJ Spawn in a playoff in the Players Championship. I love this tournament. Next to the Masters, I think the Players is my favorite golf tournament.
yeah.
Those final 3 holes are just so exciting.
Iconic.
And those were the 3 holes that the playoff was on. Rory comes out, absolutely smokes a drive on the par 5, 16th in the playoff, and I think he had like a wedge in. He knocked it on the green and 2-putt for 4. JJ Spawn made 5, and then it was all over on 17 because JJ Spawn misclubbed, misread the wind, and knocked it right over the green, and that was all she wrote. But and that 18th hole, man, that's such a tough driving hole.
Right.
Yeah, with the water down the left
I would
side,
just throw
dog
the
leg
ball.
left.
Yeah.
What's that?
I would throw the ball.
Yeah. but then you're still not over the water.
Still,
likely.
yeah, it is such an incredible to watch these pros do it too. Like,
Yeah.
and I know the TV sometimes doesn't do it justice of how good and how accurate these people are with golf.
Yeah, I mean that's a tee shot that you really need to shape too. You need to fire it up the right side with the draw and get it working back into the fairway. The other funny thing was that Rory had I guess it was an Uber driver deliver him his old woods back.
I love that.
Yeah, these PGA Tour players are encouraged to use the new product, and Rory was using the new TaylorMade line. And all the stats and everything on the range were looking great. Sometimes when you move a club over from the practice range over to the golf course, you get different results. Sounds like that might have been the case for Rory, that he wasn't super comfortable with the new gear. Anyway, it was like a $400 Uber ride for his woods to be delivered to TPC Sawgrass, and he ends up winning the tournament. It's a great story. I love that story.
A great investment, right?
Yeah.
I guess if he ended up winning, I was really happy to see Roy win one because I know he's been so close so many times.
Yeah.
Where he's almost lost tournaments where he's been in the lead, but for him to close one out with a prestigious tournament like this.
Yeah, I really want to see his confidence in his putter come back down the stretch though, because even the putt he made to get into the playoff on 18th certainly wasn't center cut. It was edge in, but it easily could have been edge out.
Yeah.
I really want to see his confidence with the flat blade come back.
But the thing is huge. The putter that he uses is like the size of my hand.
A spaceship.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm not a putting expert, but when I look at that, like one of the best putters of all time, you say with Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson.
Yeah, certainly Tiger in a clutch must make putt. That's the guy you want putting it.
But like just looking at their putters are just like looks like a. Go ahead.
You don't. That's not the first putter you grab off the rack. You go there because there's an issue.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess you do whatever it takes to whatever works. But it was nice to see Rory close one out. But certainly, if he can get that putter hot, then look out because nobody can really hit the ball as far as he.
Such a good ball striker, especially with the driver. The way he drives it is absolutely incredible. But you mentioned Tiger there, and we had a funny one come out from Tiger's camp. He posts that his. How do you say that? Hyperbolic chamber?
Hyperbaric chamber.
Hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah.
He's been sitting in a hyperbaric chamber getting his Achilles healed, which was like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago that he announced that he had a ruptured Achilles. And everything's gone like record-breaking time for his Achilles to heal, and he's coming to the Masters. And then you slide over and happy April Fools. My Achilles is still a mess.
Yeah.
Don't tease us like that, Tiger. You can't do that.
I mean, golf's always better when Tiger's in it. Like, how's his son Charlie doing? Is he anywhere close to being in the tour yet?
No, he I don't know if it was a world junior event, a high-end junior event. He finished middle of the pack.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like, golfers have gotten so good.
Yes.
You know, I hate to say it because I'm such a big Tiger guy, but if you compare where the PGA Tour is today to where 2000 aside, because Tiger was absolutely incredible in the year 2000. He dominates any era the way he played there, but like you know, his average year, I don't think he wins quite as much in this era as he would have in his era.
Right.
But that's to Tiger's credit because
Right.
he pushed the game that much further. The guys are in the gym now. Like the
Absolutely.
game has been forever changed because of him.
Yeah.
But I don't think he wins quite as much in this era because these players are so good.
Yeah, and they're deep too. The
Yeah.
field is so deep, right? It's
Yeah.
really hard to win these days.
Yeah, and aside from sponsors exemptions, the guys that have legitimately qualified for these events, if anyone goes off, I think they have got a really good chance of getting themselves in contention with the possibility of winning.
Yeah.
Like it's like you said, it is just so deep now.
So tight.
Minwoo Lee won the Texas Children Houston Open over Scotty Scheffler. Scotty, I think, was 63 in the final round. Signs of life from Scotty. You know, it's that time of year for Scotty. Yeah. We're heading into the Masters here next week. It's tough to go against Scotty's for the Masters again,
just
isn't it?
Such a big frame.
Yeah.
Just his ball control just looks like when he's on, it's just who's better right now.
But that foot motion through the ball, you would look at him and go, there's no way this guy's a consistent ball striker. But he is without a doubt controls his golf ball better than anyone in the world.
It's kind of like that John Rahm too, when he was
short backswing.
Little short backswing. You're like, how is this guy a professional? But they are so controlled and can do whatever they want.
Well, it's just repeated motion, right? It does it the same way every time. It's not his feet are not slipping.
No,
that's his golf swing.
Yeah, I think that size, that height too, that's got to be a big advantage when you're on the tee, right? You just don't have to swing as hard to get that yards, right?
Yeah, some leverage for sure. Your wingspan, long arms are really good for generating power.
But still, his short game has to be top 10 in the world right now.
Oh, well, I mean, the last few events he's played, it felt like he's just getting back into the groove of the season.
Yeah.
But he's the best. His short game is the best in the world when he's really going. So I say again, watch out for Scotty in the Masters. Who do you like moving forward in the Masters?
Yeah, it's hard to go against Scheffler. I'd love to see again Rory come through. I'm a big Smith fan.
Cam Smith.
Love Cam Smith. Just love his demeanor. And Fleetwood too.
Yeah,
I like Fleetwood.
Yeah. Having been down in Augusta last year, Fleetwood was like not an American, but he was a fan favorite. When he come up to that par 3 on the back 9 in a men's corner where it was sitting on Sunday, the crowd went nuts for him. The other guy who I really liked that the crowd really got behind was Max Homa. I'm a big Max Homa guy. Yeah. He's funny as hell.
The other guy I love, I could watch this guy hit a ball all day, is that Morikawa. Like that slow, like he looks like a robot when he hits it, how slow it is, and then the follow through too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch.
His club position in that golf swing is really, really good.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but
it's on plane, so it's the club is where it should be.
It sounds important. But yeah, no, just watching him, because not many golfers have that slow of a backswing.
Yeah,
you don't see that very often. So when you see it slow it down, and then he's like a dragon when he comes in through.
Yeah, he's generating speed. Yeah. It's just slow back.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Anyways, Oberg. I want to see Ulvig Oberg.
Well done.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we had a couple one.
And it's spelt with an A. His last name.
Auberg.
No, it's pronounced Oberg. Yeah.
Swedish, I'm assuming.
Yeah. It's got that A with the little thing on the top of it.
On the top?
No, it's a couple.
Okay. I played in Sweden for a year, so that's why I was.
Oh, you might be right. I got to go and look back at it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's good to see some new faces in there, but hopefully it's close and going down the stretch, and I'm sure it will. Always an exciting event, but
as a former golf professional for about 15 years, I want to talk about what people should be looking to do in spring.
Perfect.
And what I really want to hit on is not overdoing it out of the gate. Don't go and pound a ton of golf balls right out of the gate, and make sure that you've stretched properly. And I know we're all excited to get back out there and work on our games.
So you're telling me I shouldn't go to like the aquatic range and hit 100 balls as hard as I can to get ready?
All drivers, Danny.
Yeah.
I want you.
So don't do that.
Yeah. So if you're going to work on your speed, generating more speed, give it a little into the season. Let yourself, the weather warm up. Don't go too hard out of the gate.
Fair.
One thing you can always work on though, without worrying too much about your body, is your chipping and putting.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
and obviously the most important part of the game is when you get closer to the hole.
Yep.
So focus on that out of the gate, get your swing loosened up, but don't overdo it would be my best advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good advice. I won't
Thank
listen
you,
to it,
Danny.
but yeah, that was really good.
You're gonna go and smash as many golf balls as you can.
No, if I can get out even just with the kids, it'll be good.
Yeah.
Moving
So
on.
I'm gonna do my top 5 golf courses in the Kingston area, and these are not necessarily positioned in order of what you would deem the best, but I'll explain why I think they're the best.
Yes.
And the number one I'm going to start with is Cataraqui Golf and Country Club. I was associate pro and ran the curling program there for better part of a decade, so I have to be loyal to my alma mater at Cataraqui, and still friends with a bunch of the members there. I still curl there. I don't play as much golf as I used to, but so I'm not a golf member there, but I've spent a lot of time at that golf club, and and beyond that, being loyal to where I used to work. It's an amazing golf course. It's one of these golf courses that you don't get bored as a member. You're always faced with a different shot there. The layout is fair, challenging but fair, and it's just a fantastic layout. Established 1917 McBroom design, and just a fantastic golf course. You've played it a couple times?
A few times, yeah. A lot of friends with a lot of the members there who like to party. As much as it is a very prestigious golf course, and it is, members do have fun there, and
yes,
do enjoy the company of the people that do have a membership there. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Number 2, I've got the Landing Golf Course and Teaching Center, and you're probably going, come on, the Landings too. It serves an amazing purpose in our community. I would recommend this for anyone who's starting to look at getting into golf. It's executive style golf course, so it's not full length golf course. Amazing starting point for people looking to get into the game. Fantastic driving range there. And the one big thing that I want to key in on is the lessons that are available out of there to the general public. It's fantastic teaching center there. So anyone who's looking to get into the game, I would recommend starting at the Landings.
Yeah, it's great for kids too. Like, ideal, the holes aren't that long. It's fairly wide open, so if you hit one, you could probably go get it without causing too much disturbance. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you there, bud.
Yeah. Loyalist Golf and Country Club.
I used to work there. Yeah, that was my first job. Love that course too. Little bit of a drive out there, but it's well worth it. But it's got the driving range, it's got the pool, nice clubhouse. So it's all that you need, right? Keep it simple.
And I maybe snuck this one in there because of the housing development.
Yeah. There's
the
a
houses that have been built.
Ton of houses
through there.
going out there, right?
Yeah.
Just want to be careful with which one you buy so that you're not getting balls hit at you every so often.
And I've actually got a funny story that I heard a few days ago about you working at Loyalist. So Ben Shannon actually went to college with him, who now works at Cataraqui, was one of the professionals, or was working towards his professional designation at Loyalist when you worked there.
Yep.
And he came up to me. He's like, hey, I got something funny. One of the funniest things I've heard working at a golf course came from Danny Taylor. So Danny had the reverse on the golf cart. He looked over to Ben and said, that's the same sound it makes when you get hit in the head with a puck.
Yeah. No, it does sound familiar. And obviously when I was 19, but yeah, no, sometimes when you get hit, and masks are made differently now.
Right.
I will say that. But like when they're, even 20 years ago, you get a stinger off the melon. Like there'd be almost like flashbangs at Call of Duty, if you're for the video gamers out there. But yeah, if you want to know what it feels like, just turn the reversing on with the.
It's amazing the things that we can remember, like how Ben remembered that one moment from over 20 years ago, right?
I'll take that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
At least you're memorable, right? Number 4, I've got Smuggler's Glen Golf Course, and this one again serves a different purpose in our area, just outside of Gananoque. It's also attached to a resort, so it's a resort property golf course. Great layout, lots of rock outcroppings. Reminds me a lot of the golf courses that I used to work at in the Muskoka area. With that layout there, but it serves a great purpose for tourists that are coming through the area, and it is a great golf course. I've played it quite a few times in the last 5-6 years, and it's always a good time out there.
Yeah, Love the topography, a lot of
Mhm.
elevation, and kind of lovely finishing hole too. It's a dogleg par 5, and you have the ability to go hit the green in 2. So if you got money on the line and a couple strokes on the road on the line here to end the game, it's certainly a fun finish.
And the 5th one, I'm probably going to get roasted for, but I'm going to preface it. I've got Inverary Golf and Country Club.
Dude,
I love the front 9 at Inverary.
It's a tough course to score well at.
Yeah,
because the greens are smaller. It's a great spot to learn golf.
Mhm.
I find, like, I live 5 minutes away from that course, and actually there's 2 times that these courses actually really good. It's actually at the start of the season when courses tend to be really wet,
Mm.
and then at the end of the season when things are starting to die down. In the summer, it can be very dry. But I mean, what a way to learn how to hit golf where you can't really take a divot, where you have to almost let the ball run out, and it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is.
Yeah, I do really like the front 9 there. So the front 9 lays out, if you hit the shot that you're intending to hit, you will be rewarded. There's a few holes on the back 9 though that I have to say that are a little quirky, and you can hit a good shot and be penalized for it. So for me, when I look at a golf course, I look at it in the sense, did I hit the shot I intended to? Was I rewarded? So if I hit the shot I intended to and I wasn't rewarded, that frustrates the heck out of me.
You know what my old man would say?
Deal with it.
Be better. Yeah. No.
Sure.
There's 3 holes. There's that elevated par 4, and then you go right into the par 4 that basically looks like a hallway.
Yeah.
And then the other one's like a hard dogleg right, like a right angle.
Yeah.
Right hand turn with a car.
So that really narrow hole, I don't have an issue with it.
So I do. For someone that can't keep it straight or who slices or fades it.
But you haven't hit the shot you intended.
I don't have an intended shot.
Okay.
If I hit the ball and keep it relatively straight, like that's, I don't know, for all the listeners, like that's good. But you're right. Yeah. Like it is a tight corridor for most amateurs.
Yeah. That dog leg hole, sometimes you can hit a shot that you thought was good and be lost ball or in jail.
100%.
And then 17, the really slopey par 3.
It is almost a guaranteed 3 putt if you're on the wrong side of the hole there.
Yeah. That's if you even happen to stay on the green.
Stay on the green. It's actually better to be off the green, but below the hole. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And then I've got a couple on here that are blasts from the past. Glen Lawrence. I love that layout out there. That was so amazing.
That's a golf course that I tried to drink a beer hole at.
Okay.
In my early 20s. And the first day I made it to 12 without having to call it a day. And the next day we tried to do it again, and then only got to 13. So
let's back this up. You did it back-to-back days.
Yeah. No, it was a really good weekend. Had some buddies down from some old teammates from the OHL, and we tried to drink a beer hole. The par 3s are really tough, right? Because then after you've chugged your beer and then you finish the par 3, because you just don't have that second shot that really helps.
Did anyone complete it?
I've known people that have done it. I couldn't do it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a really good time. You just got to make sure they get picked up from the course.
100%. Was this like an end of season type thing?
Yeah, it was in the middle of end of season.
End of season.
Yeah, before training starts again. And
okay.
It was a great time.
Punish your body before you punish your body.
I lost a golf club that day, but it was a good time.
Yeah. Didn't remember where it was.
But you're right, Glen Lawrence. Speaking about terrain, like I absolutely loved how hilly that was.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to walk it. I know every time I went out there was in a golf cart, but it was sad to see that one go.
Yeah. And the other one I had on here, blast from the past, was Bell Park. That its location, its price, everything about it served our community so well. It was so sad it was a municipally ran golf course, and perhaps they weren't making money there, but it served such an amazing access to our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right on Montreal Street there.
Yep.
I thought it was great. And you know what, for the golf course, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what a great way to give people access to the game of golf.
I never golfed it, so I can't speak about it. But what a great location. I'm sure that the city has some kind of plans for Bell Park here in the future, but we can dive into that deeper in another episode here.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing I wanted to talk about was during COVID, how golf exploded. I was heading out of the industry at the time. had I stuck on, and I was done. I was ready to move on in life and get into a career like real estate. But had I hung on, I would have made quite a bit of money during those seasons.
The one thing about COVID that I really enjoyed was what happened to those cups that you'd have to like. There was like because no one wanted to take the ball out, so you'd just like lift the lever out for the balls.
Yeah.
What happened to them?
Do you want them back?
I would like them back.
Okay.
Anytime that I don't have to bend over to pick up a ball, just to lift the lever. But I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but
what about the styrofoam that pushed the
I would bring that back too.
What about the rule if you hit the flag, it's deemed in?
I play by those today. Yeah, I kept those going. You don't?
No. All right, one last segment here, and we're gonna wrap it up. This one's called Putts and Pints, and we're gonna pair a local golf course to the brewery or pub that we recommend people go after the round. And I'll start off with Loyalist Golf and Country Club in Wellborn Commons, right in Bath. Lovely. It's an amazing public house. Lots of draft on tap, and their food is incredible there. Nice. Stopped in there a couple times. Really, really great spot.
Yeah. The other one that was landings not too far is the Spearhead Brewing Company. We had an agent mixer there the last spring. Yeah. Well, I actually haven't met a beer that I haven't liked, so I can't. I thoroughly enjoy it. So certainly a great spot after a round of golf.
Yeah, and Spearhead's really cool. They have a lot of live entertainment that they put on there. They've lots of event nights like trivia, and they had this thing going where the DJ would play a song and you had to guess the song. There's lots of fun stuff that they do there.
Nice.
And they've done some renovations there now to have a full kitchen, which they do wood-fired pizzas, and the food's gotten, well, they had a little bit of an offering before, but they've really upped their game on the food side.
We need to talk about wood-fired pizza in another episode too.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Couple great ones in Kingston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. Yeah. Okay. The next one, what we got? Cat and Golf Country Club, Loyal Oarsman.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't want to spend the money, because they have redone the clubhouse there at the Cat.
Yeah,
it's a lovely spot to have a beer and a sandwich, but definitely Loyal Oarsman is more my jam, hole in the wall kind of spot. Great for a Guinness, which is my jam too.
Yeah. British style pub, but I do want to say a lot of the members do stick around after their round at Cataraqui, because the golf lounge there, and really the patio is probably one of the best in the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of the members do stick around there, but we wanted to get Cataraqui, and a little shout out to the Loyal Oarsmen also. I know a lot of the members like to frequent there also.
Absolutely.
We've got Colonnade with Fine Balance Brewing Company. I've actually never played Colonnade.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
might have to change that this year.
Yeah, put it on the bucket list, right?
Yeah. However, Fine Balance Brewing Company, a good friends with the owner operator there, and just a really great spot. They do their beers a little bit differently. Lot of high-end product that they use, and there's some high percentage IPAs that you can't find anywhere else in the city that are done there.
Well, what's the carbonation like?
Oh, it's good. Yeah.
Or is it low? High or low?
On the high end, or like the high percentage IPAs. I like the citrusy ones. The citrusy ones are usually a little lower on the carbonation.
That's good.
Yeah.
You don't want to be burping and farting all the time. That's why I ask, right?
Okay, I got you.
That's just my opinion, but
I actually worked there delivering beer while I was getting my real estate license.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I do these long runs like past Toronto and to Ottawa. Andrew, my buddy, who's there, would send me on these big runs to do deliveries to other restaurants and breweries that were stocking their product.
Nice. Yeah. Fun fact. I didn't know that. Next is Rivendell. Muddy Waters is where where the wife's from.
Your wife's from Muddy Waters?
Well, Verona, right? Muddy Waters, which is where Rivendell is located. And nice little spot. I think one and only restaurant and bars there in Verona.
Yeah, there's Moms also. Danny and I both married Verona women. Muddy Waters is actually right across the street from where my in-laws live, and they know the owner there, Christine, fairly well.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's a little bit different than the pubs and other
Different
restaurants
vibe.
that we're talking
Yeah.
about. You're gonna sit down and have your wings with the guys there and order a pitcher of beer. It's not your traditional bar setting, but the food there is incredible. It's really good.
I can have fun anywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
And Rivendell, I really like that golf course. Great golf course.
Lovely. Yeah. I don't think it, I think it's for the cost and what it is. I think it's great value out there.
Yeah. Moving on, we've got Garrison. Garrison's a great layout. I really like the layout there. It's one of these golf courses where you hit the shot that you intended to. You won't be penalized for it. So I like that about it.
Well, and it's wide open, right?
I think that maybe that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. So like, even if I can't find my ball, I'd be like, oh, here, weird, found my ball. No, it is nice like that, but they do have some challenging holes there too.
Yeah.
And the greens are in good shape. Bunkers, which I usually throw the ball out when I play there, but it lies true, right? In a good bunker.
Yeah.
So.
And we've got that paired with the Duchess. I know you love the Duchess.
That's my jam.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's especially with the weather coming in the way it is. It's going to be a nice little outdoor patio too. But
so a really great pub in the East End there. It hasn't been open that long. What would we think? 4 or 5 years?
Yeah. It's about that.
Yeah. So lots of development going on in the East End, and after Garrison, head over to the Duchess. The next one we've got is Smuggler's Glen. We talked about Smugs already.
Yeah.
So great resort golf course, and we've paired that with local downtown Gananoque pub called the Mavericks.
Haven't been there, but I'm sure I'll be there eventually.
Just your everyday town pub.
Yeah.
Food's good there. Go and have a pint at Mavericks. This one is pretty fun because we've paired 2 golf courses together because they're sandwiched between a brewery. We've got Black Bear Ridge and Trillium Wood. Have you played both?
I have.
Yeah.
And it is way better of a course than I am golfer.
Okay.
But it's very fun to play.
Yeah.
One of the best things about this course is how comfortable the golf carts are.
Are you talking Black Bear or Trillium?
Trillium. Trillium has excellent.
Okay. Good, because I've not played Trillium, but I've played Black Bear a few times.
Yeah.
So I can't speak to Trillium.
Yeah, Black Bear are getting the same golf courts there, but it made me want to switch to my golf cart as a regular vehicle.
Oh, okay.
It was that comfortable.
Nice.
Yeah, it was the seats. Anyway, but yeah, Signal Brewery, have not had a chance to have a beer there, but like where your head's at with the golf course.
Yeah, and that's part of the ownership with so Spearhead and Signal and Skeleton Park.
I don't drink as much as you.
I'm familiar with the local breweries.
Yeah,
so they're all under one ownership now.
Okay.
That was part of a purchase that was made by the owners of Skeleton Park to pick up Spearhead and Signal Brewing. And Signal is just down the road, or it's actually in between the 2 golf courses, so pretty easy one to pair there.
Nice. Yeah.
And last but not least, we've got Camden Braes. Another really good layout. Can get pretty dry there mid-season.
Yep.
But a really fair layout, and we've got that paired with McKinnon Brothers Brewing Company, which is just down the road from them.
Lovely spot, that McKinnon Brothers Brewery. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to go. There's a big festival though that I think we might do a live event at. I think that would be a great idea.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
It's the really big one that they've got is Back to the Farm.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
we should get that going, because that is an awesome time.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun there.
Yeah,
Sure I've gone the once to that. Something weird about me that not everyone would know is I do get anxiety being around a lot of people that I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, it's terrifying.
Okay.
Yeah, it is very normal. Yeah, but Untapped 60, buddy.
Yes, Untapped 60.
Hey,
find the other 60.
We're gonna find the other 60 this summer, buddy.
Don't fear being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Exactly.
That really is where growth happens, is when you're not feeling comfortable.
Absolutely.
Stay in your comfort zone. You're probably not going to change very much.
Yeah. Not ideal.
Like a full circle moment there, Danny?
Right?
Yeah.
Well done.
So I think we should wrap it up at that.
Absolutely.
thanks again to Michael Laughlin for coming on.
God,
what
yeah.
an amazing story.
Awesome.
We hope to have him on again. He's got some stuff that he's working on that hopefully we can bring him back to speak about, because everything that he's doing is just so giving back to, you know, the people that he's surrounded himself with it, whether it be Locker Talk or you know, his being a fitness coach. Is just amazing with what he's doing.
And I'm sure you guys heard it in the interview. Just his personality is infectious. Like, you just feel better after listening to him. I know I did, and I hope you guys did too.
Yeah. So that's a wrap on episode 11 of Pucks, Putts, and Properties. Thanks for doing this again with me, Danny.
Cheers, buddy. Couple clicks.
Yeah. So here's what I think we should do. You're a click guy and I'll be the golf clap guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
There we go.
We'll end it at that. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Two real estate agents of romance, so true.